Recording. Yep, you can go.
Okay. Good afternoon and welcome to Team 54's presentation on our Starbucks stores expansion project. And one of the first things I want to draw your attention to is the Starbucks mission statement at the top, which is to inspire and nurture the human spirit, one person, one cup, and one neighborhood at a time. And this really coincides with the main goal of our project, which is to spread Starbucks to new counties in the United States. Just want to give a brief introduction of our team. We have Danjo, Mengwan, Zahid, Max, and myself, and all of our various roles are listed below. So here's the contents of our presentation. Some of the main things that I wanted to point out are the deliverables that we're very proud of. We have our data overview. We have our motivating questions that were some of the things that we really initially started with to discuss some of the main points of emphasis for the project. And then as we get into some of our analysis, we have the clustering, our modeling, and two of our main deliverables, which are the mobile app and our store locator dashboard, which we think will be very useful for Starbucks to use. And lastly, we will have our recommendations and some of our conclusions. So to begin, Starbucks, I'm sure you're well aware, is an American multinational chain of coffee houses in the United States. It's the world's largest coffee house chain. Opened its first coffee shop in Seattle in 1971. And just to give you just an idea of how big it is, there are Starbucks in 84 different countries with a total of 34,630 locations across the world. And just to reiterate just how big it is, they made over $29 billion in revenue with a workforce of over 383,000 employees. And yet again, there's the mission statement that we hope to fulfill through this project. And so as big as Starbucks is and as ambitious as they are, we want to help them with their growth. And with the US coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic, Starbucks is still eager to continue this growth. And currently they have more than 13,000 locations in the US. That seems a lot, but it seems that there's still a lot of different places that are that they haven't reached yet. And that's how they have hired us to assist with this task. And as I mentioned before, the goal of our team is to basically create a variety of tools for Starbucks, which will allow them to consider which features are most important when considering opening a new location in a new area that they're not very familiar with. And in addition to understanding the current Starbucks locations and just being able to establish some unique groupings based on a variety of features, and to assist them with just really searching for these places that they haven't found yet. And furthermore, we want to create a model to recommend which specific counties they should target when opening a new location. So here are some of our main project goals. These are our three main goals. As I mentioned before, we have to really understand what variables decide where a Starbucks location should be built. And that's identifying some of these socioeconomic factors that we gather through census data that differentiate which counties have Starbucks and which ones don't. We have our second goal, which is Starbucks segmentation, which is also our clustering, which, because not all Starbucks locations have similar socioeconomic factors, we have to establish some unique groupings and demographics in these particular areas to really assess whether it's viable for a new store. And our third goal is quite arguably our most important one, which is to predict new counties to build Starbucks locations and give each county a score of how likely that county should have a Starbucks location. So as I mentioned, here's some of our main deliverables that we're very proud to present. We have our customer segmentation, our store locator dashboard, which allows customers to see current Starbucks stores, allows executives to see different clusters that we have created. And then we also have our predictions for new locations that are listed on that map below. And then lastly, we have our mobile app, which provides a survey and also gives access to the store locator dashboard. And this survey data is, we will mention it later, but very helpful in determining which different areas we should consider opening a new Starbucks. So this is some of our data overview, how we gathered our data, where it came from. We have our Starbucks locations data. It's a Kaggle data set, shows a record of every Starbucks location in operation as of February 2017. And this data contains basic variables such as street address, city, state, province, and county, postcode, and et cetera. And then we have our American Community Survey data, or our census data. We use this data to just use at a county level that will show a variety of characteristics of the population that we're really focusing in on, from anywhere from education, gender, race, to income. And lastly, we have our US zip codes, county, state, to Federal Information Processing System, crosswalk. And this was created by combining information from the US HUD and Census Bureau. And this data contains variables such as zip code, county name, and state, which we use to combine the Starbucks locations data with the American Community Survey data on a county level. This is some of our data transformation and some of our the data cleaning process that we had to go through. First, we had to clean the zip codes to merge counties. We had to convert postcodes for Starbucks locations from 3, 4, 5, 8, or 9 digits long to five digits. And that's the process that we use to do that. We also had to change certain instances where county names were slightly different between sets. As you can see, something like St. Louis had to account for the name change. And also we had to remove empty rows with missing census information. And that graphic on the top right shows a little bit more about that. And in addition, we also had to create latitude and longitude pairing for each county. Since some counties contain multiple zip codes, we then took the medium, latitude, and longitude values to get a rough estimate of where that county is roughly located. And lastly, we have our feature creation, which is created some of these features to assist in our analysis. We created a number of Starbucks locations per county, counties that have more than one location, percent of men, percent of women, and so on. In addition to we binning income and total population variables for each county by rounding one on quantile suggestions. And on the right, we have some of the income groups that we created. We have our 5 groups there, and then also our total population groups, which we also grouped into groups of 5. And this is our data dictionary. As I mentioned previously, we have, as you can see, there's some of the census data contained in this. We have poverty, we have county, state, and in addition to some of the demographics, Hispanic, white in the area.
So I'm Maximilian, and I'm going to be going over some motivating questions for our project. So comparing counties with and without Starbucks, median income and total population size are the main distinguishing features. Higher education is another distinguishing feature. More educated folks live in counties with Starbucks stores. And also, Starbucks counties seem to be more diverse than non-Starbucks counties. So at the bottom of the slide, you can see a table of some features and their median values for non-Starbucks versus Starbucks counties. It reflects some of these observations above. For example, we see that in the Starbucks counties, a higher percentage of individuals are college educated or higher. At the right, you can see some box plots. The top is the median household income for each county, separated by Starbucks and non-Starbucks counties. And the bottom is the total population for each county, again, separated by Starbucks and non-Starbucks. In terms of bin sizes for income and populations, we created 5 levels for income and total population, trying to create groups with an even number of counties in each using quantile splits. So you can see the top graph shows a heat map of the poorest and the wealthiest counties based on median income. The lowest income counties are often in the South or Midwest, and the highest are near large metropolitan areas. The bottom graph shows a heat map of the smallest and largest counties based on median population sizes, and generally speaking, the coasts are more densely populated. Where are most of the Starbucks stores located? There are 13,091 Starbucks locations in the United States. Of the 3,202 counties, only 33% have at least one Starbucks. Additionally, only 9% of those counties have 5 or more locations. California, Texas, and Washington each have 700 plus locations, while South Dakota, West Virginia, Delaware, Wyoming, North Dakota, Vermont, and Alaska all have less than 25 locations. Comparing the Starbucks locations map with the total population size map from the previous slide, there is some correlation where Starbucks presence follows medium to large population sizes. Moving on to the different types of Starbucks store ownership. Starbucks stores can be licensed or company owned. 60% of stores are company owned, which is 7,822 stores. And company owned means that Starbucks builds its own store and manages the entire operation. Licensed stores, which comprise 5,269 of the Starbucks stores in the US, are where people apply to manage a Starbucks inside an airport, a grocery store, a school, etc. Licensed stores are slightly more prevalent in the Midwest, and otherwise the geographic distribution of licensed versus company-owned stores is similar. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Donjo.
Awesome, thanks, Max. So kind of the first diving to kind of Starbucks store segmentation. So really the goal of this is to really understand the current Starbucks locations or any unique clusterings or groups that we can find. So next slide, please, Grace. So when we did this clustering of the current Starbucks locations, we have kind of 6 unique groupings. So kind of 4 groupings are based on the company-owned locations. So the smaller white communities that make up about 18%, the Hispanic struggling communities make up 15%, and then the biggest cluster is the large metropolis and tourist areas, which make up 3,000 locations, and then our smallest cluster are the commuting educated workers that make up just about 550 locations in the United States. And then we have kind of 2 clusters based on kind of the licensed locations. So kind of the grocery stores that are in the smaller areas and the smaller schools. And then we kind of have the larger licensed Starbucks stores, which are kind of located in hotels and bigger kind of tourist destinations in bigger cities. So just doing a kind of briefly going over kind of each of the clusters in detail really quickly. So kind of why we classified this as kind of the smaller white community is that you can see 70% of the county is white, and that's highest of all the 6 clusters. And then, the lowest kind of diversity in terms of Asian, Hispanic in this case. We also see that in terms of population, 360,000 total population in the county, which is the lowest. And the median household income in the county is also the lowest at 50,000. And just to mention, all the stats kind of provided are the median values of each cluster group. And then on the right side here, these are showing the different clusters and the lat longs of the counties. Moving on to the next community, we have the Hispanic struggling community. So as we see on the map, 44% is Hispanic, which is the highest of all the clusters. We can see kind of it's clustered around kind of Texas, New Mexico, and a lot of Southern California. It does, why I mentioned it's kind of the struggling part there is that, we have 26% of children under poverty, which is the highest. Education-wise, 8% only finished, have a less than 9th grade education. And also, unemployment rate is the highest at 10%. As well. The total population is a little skewed due to just the sheer number of LA County Starbucks locations, but that is kind of a reason why that stands out in that case. So moving on to kind of our largest cluster, which is about 3,009 locations. You can see kind of on the map, they're clustered around all the kind of major cities. So on the West Coast, you have Seattle, San Francisco, LA, maybe that's San Diego on the bottom. And then also, some big tourist areas. So as you can see, the Hawaii locations are all kind of highlighted there. parts of Denver, Mesquite, Trips areas as well. So just some quick hitters on these. These have the lowest poverty level of all the 6 clusters, the highest median household income, and you can see that's mainly due to kind of the high cost of living in those big major metropolis cities. And then moving on to kind of our last cluster in the company-owned one. So here, this cluster is really small. It's made up of 547 locations, centered around kind of 5 specific cities, really: Boston, New York City, DC, San Francisco, and Arlington, Virginia. And the big characteristic here that is pretty interesting is that 38% of the people here commute on public transportation in the county, which is the highest of all the clusters, and 32 minutes of commute time. And then as you can see, 14% of people walk to work. So you have a really kind of bustling people that kind of come from the suburbs and then go to work in the city. As you can see, 84% also employed in the private industry, and then also your most educated workers as well, with 29% with a master's degree or higher in the county, and then also 32% with a bachelor's. And then moving on to our licensed clusters, we have kind of a smaller grocery stores at schools that are licensed. So here, we have a median household income of about $50,270, which is kind of the second lowest. And just a reminder, these licensed locations are, stores or, office spaces that apply to sell Starbucks. So you have your Safeway, Churrasco's, your grocery stores, and then some of the smaller universities and community colleges as well offer and sell Starbucks in that case from there. And then moving on to the next slide, Grace. Here, the difference between this one and the previous one is this one is really more centered around the big tourist locations as well as the big metropolis cities, similar to the previous one that I mentioned of company owned. So here, very similar, but some of these locations are actually inside like large hotels, like in the Marriott in Jackson Hole, Marriott in Hawaii. So really centered around high density tourism or high population specifically. And just looking at some of the stats here, we also do see kind of the second highest white population of all the 6 clusters in that case. So, and then here's just a quick map kind of showing how all 6 of these clusters are on one whole map, just for your reference. All right, so now that we kind of understand the current Starbucks location segmentation, we wanted to understand, looking at all the United States counties, the 3,000 plus, if there are any unique groupings, and then how do those correlate with kind of where the Starbucks are located within them. So when clustering on the 3,000 plus US counties that do or do not have a Starbucks location, we see that there's 4 main clusters. We have the Hispanic Native American counties that make up almost 5%, the metropolis cities/business counties, which make up about 36%, the SEC surrounding counties, which is around 34%, which is kind of your southeast cities or counties that are not in the major big cities. And then the last one is your kind of small Midwest blue collar white families, which are generally all kind of located in the Midwest belt there. And I'll be explaining kind of those 4 specific clusters in more detail. So first off, of Hispanic Native American counties, which make up 5%, we see kind of, as I mentioned, the stats are the median values of each cluster group, that 81% of the county is Hispanic. And these clusters are really focused on Texas and New Mexico in terms of Hispanic side. And then the Native American side, you have kind of Alaska and then parts of South Dakota as well. One interesting thing about this is you kind of, Grace, just really quick. I want to point out as well, this has the highest child poverty rate and poverty rate at 43 and 33% respectively, and also the lowest income bin. So you see about 2/3 of the counties are in the first income bin, which is between 0 to 36,000, and basically 25% of them are between 36 and 43,000. And if you look at the map and also in the bullet point here, that 87% of these counties don't have a single Starbucks location. So we can kind of get a sense of these counties may not be the best place to hold a specific Starbucks location in the future. Moving on to kind of metropolis city and business county. So these are on the right side, the ones shaded in dark blue. So you have them, located around like big cities like Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, and LA on the West Coast. And then you can see those dark blue circles kind of get spaced out in the south and the southern states along the cities, and on the kind of big capitals there, and also along the East Coast. So some of the main features of these are 80% employed in the private sector, the county, and also you see that a lot of them are in the high income bin. So 25% of them are in the highest income bin, between 60 to 125K median income, and then the rest of them are basically in the second and third highest income bins, as well as 50% of the counties are in the highest population bins. So you have big income and big population with this county. And then looking at kind of the Starbucks locations, interesting points here, about 50% of them have 3+ Starbucks locations, and over 25% of them have 1 to 2 Starbucks locations with the rest. So this is probably a good indicator of specific counties we'd want to target to expand our Starbucks locations. So moving on to the third cluster here, we have the SEC surrounding counties. So these are the ones colored in gray here. So these are all kind of located mostly in the southern states, outside of your capital or big populated cities. Mentioned here, some quick hitters. This is also kind of a low income bin here as well. So about 40% of them make between 0 to 36,000, and then the rest of them make between 36K to 43,000. So kind of the poorer counties of the U.S. And also in terms of populations, it's not very high. Around the second and third lowest population bins, between 10,000 to 40,000. And about only 84% of these counties don't have a Starbucks location. So this is also an indicator that these may not be the best area to expand our Starbucks in the future. These characteristics. Moving on to our last cluster here, we kind of have the small Midwest blue collar white families here. So these are your light green colored on the map here, dots here. So 92% of the county is white, which is actually kind of crazy and high there. You have the lowest child poverty rate at 70%, and also the lowest poverty rate at 12%. Unfortunately, you do have the highest unemployment rate at 13%. What's interesting though is although their the population is very low, so you see kind of 60% 0 to 10,000, and then 30% between 10 to 20,000. They about 70% of them make a good amount of income, where they're kind of in the upper income bins between $43,000 and $60,000 of median income here. But like I mentioned, since of the low population, it may not be an ideal place to expand, as you see only 95% of these counties don't have a single Starbucks location. And here is just a list of some of the models we tried for our clustering specifically. So we really focused on kind of K-means. We tried different methods between elbow method and silhouette method to find optimal numbers, as well as including binned or unbinned variables like income and population, as well as including different flags like number of Starbucks, 1 or more Starbucks locations, to see if it helps with the clustering. And then also we use frequency and compared using frequency or percentage columns to see if they provided more distinguishing features in our clusters. But at the end, we decided to pick option 5 here, which is the one kind of highlighted with the yes on the bin county sizes, and using elbow method, we found those 4 optimal clusters that I just mentioned above. So kind of with the clustering and kind of some insights about where those the counties that most likely have a Starbucks locations, we'll get on to kind of a modeling and how to predict new Starbucks locations with Fahid.
Thank you, Donjo. So yeah, here our goal was to test different modeling approaches, just to see which model was best when we were trying to predict new Starbucks locations at the county level. And we did some feature selection. Again, we sorted the county features according to their K highest score. And here again, the most highest correlated variables were those that were related to population and income, as being most strongly correlated to counties that had at least one Starbucks location. Education was also, I should say, education level was also represented here, which was also related to income level. Our team used Python to compare the performance of multiple different types of machine learning models that we used to predict the new Starbucks locations. These models were a simple decision tree, random forest, gradient boost, logistic regression, and also a TensorFlow Keras model. The performance of each model was evaluated by its classification accuracy on test data, as well as its area under the ROC curve, which was the true positive rate versus the false positive rate. A visualization comparing the area under the curve as represented can be seen here. Based on the results of the experiments, the best performing model for predicting new Starbucks locations by county was the gradient boosting model. It exhibited an area under the ROC curve of over 0.97 and a classification accuracy of over 0.92 on test data. And you can see the results of all of the different models here as they pertain to classification accuracy. Again, you see the gradient boost represented by the GB at the top, as well as a visualization depicting the area under the curve for the gradient boosting model, as well as its classification accuracy. Using that model, the gradient boost model, we developed probability scores of success for which counties would be best to host a Starbucks location. We did this by focusing on scores that were higher than 50%, and that resulted in 124 counties that we were recommended expanding Starbucks locations into. The top states that we recommended were Michigan, North Carolina, Texas, Missouri, New York, and Illinois. Those states each have over 7 counties where we saw the ability to grow the Starbucks brand and expand locations into. Some of the characteristics that separated these counties, we divided into quartiles. So you can see here also the impact that those variables, as specifically income, population, and education, had, and the disparity between those quantiles. So when you think about income, these are all median values. There's nearly a $10,000 difference, where the highest quantile was approaching $50,000 of income. Population, again, there's the largest difference. There's nearly a 10-fold difference between the largest quantile and 75% to 100% versus the 0 to 25%. And education and employment, there was also differences demonstrated here as well. And you can see the distribution of these quantiles on the map. There's it's not specific to any region. There seems to be some relation to metropolises, and again, population is important here when noting the positions of each quantile as they're represented on the map. And here is just a list of the top counties and the states that we recommended expanding it into. And this is based on on the score that we developed using the model, the gradient boost model. These are the counties, the top 15 counties that we showed had the highest correlation based on income and population and other values, that they would be more responsive to hosting a Starbucks location. So these are the top 15. Again, there's a wide distribution of many different states, and it's not specific to region. And with that, I will hand it off to Grace to model the mobile app and Insights dashboard.
Thank you. Next, I will talk about mobile application and Insights dashboards. So both tools are created to test different modeling approaches to find the best model to predict the new Starbucks location. First, let's look into the store locator dashboard. It is created for both Starbucks consumers and company executive. By using this dashboard, customer is able to see and search the current Starbucks store in his area. In addition, executive of Starbucks are able to see the different clusters that were created in our model. These insights will help business owners to make critical decisions. Next, I will do a demo for web application. So in this dashboard, there are two main parts, which first one is Starbucks overall locator, and second is Starbucks classifier. For the first one, user can select the states he wants to search for. For example, in this case, we search California. And from the dashboard, the user can see the clear map of all locations in the Californias, and the map of the dashboard can zoom in to the specific county. And then we can see it has a bar chart which shows the counts of stores by the counties. As we can see here, the Los Angeles has the highest one. And if the user want to see different all the details location for the stores, and here this will show all the locations in details. And the second tab of this dashboard is Starbucks classifier. Based on our cluster model, the executive or business owners can select the cluster group to see in details or in map where it's located. For example, in this case, we select cluster 1. And you will see clearly in each of the map whether the location of the county is belong to that cluster. And this is our web application. Let me go back to next. I will talk about mobile application. We built up this application in order to gain more customer insights on possible new store locations. So firstly, the survey will ask the customers the feedback on 3 areas: taste, friendliness, and quickness. This will give us some critical information on how we can attract the new customers. And secondly, the survey is very helpful for us to understand the customer inclination towards the new store's location. This details information we will ask customer like which zip code or which counties they have more interest to have a new Starbucks store. And lastly, we ask consumers the coffee consumptions and interests, so we can have a better understanding the potential store's target user. Then I will have a demo of our mobile application. It's connecting to my phone. As you can see, this interface, this is this is a iPhone interface, and for the stores, for the application, we call Starbucks service. From this mobile application, the user can point in, click into the web application as we mentioned before. If the user want to search the details, location of the Starbucks in his area, this is a very easy tool for him to check out. And secondly, the most important feature for this app is customer survey. As you can see from here, the user will be asked few questions about age group, coffee consumption habit, and the distance between home and the Starbucks stores, and the overall satisfaction of the Starbucks service. Then we will ask about customers' inclination to open a new stores in the area. So this is our survey, and after the customer submit this survey, in the background, we will collect such data. Take an example of the currently our group filling for service, and this will be very helpful for our future use to define and our prediction models. Yes.
So I'll be going over some recommendations that our team is providing to the Starbucks leadership. So in terms of clustering and modeling recommendations, our team is recommending to leverage clusters to understand customer segmentation and where Starbucks will succeed. We're recommending to utilize the gradient boosting model to predict new Starbucks locations by providing a list of counties that we have the most confidence in. After identifying potential new stores, we recommend surveying and doing further investigation on customer trends in the local area. Once we have confirmed local interests, look into opportunities for licensing or a short-term pop-up store to gauge demand. And if local interest is sufficient and if it's financially feasible, consider building a company-owned store in that county to permanently establish a new location there. Some recommendations for the usage of the mobile app. We recommend that customers utilize the mobile app to have the ability to view all of the locations within their area. We recommend that customers utilize the mobile app to fill out the customer satisfaction survey and gauge future interest in new locations. And we recommend that executives and company leadership utilize the mobile app to understand key features and socioeconomic factors that decide what makes a county a successful place to host a Starbucks location. Moving on to the conclusions. The outputs of our analysis of Starbucks locations and the Starbucks customer base benefit the company in multiple ways. The gradient boosting model can predict which counties are the best to open new stores in. Clustering at a location level and a county level helps clarify which socioeconomic features are important for the success of a Starbucks store. The mobile app provides customers with an interactive dashboard with easy-to-use search filters, allowing them to easily view details of stores near them. And data collected from the mobile app and web app, including usage data and results from surveys about coffee consumption or potential new stores, can be used for future projects. And that's all we have for today. Thank you for your time.